And this is Monday, December 11th. Let's see, we're doing my advanced class, but if your regular class is pretty much the same thing. So we only record one class a day. The conversations will be pretty close to each other. Let's see, Toys for Tots, you have until Thursday. Next novel checkpoints coming up on Wednesday. I said it was Sunday, but Wednesday is the real day, so keep you guys from procrastinating. Except for those who procrastinate anyway, because you're just special. Book report comes due Wednesday, and you have bell work. Your bell work. Stop it. Bad iPad. Focus.
Boo.
This is your bell work. If you can't read it, you can also go onto my website. You can probably read it there too. So here are the questions. I just want you to write 4 sentences or more, depending on which one inspires you the most. Different people will be inspired by different questions. What is your definition of bullying? Should a victim be punished if they paralyze or even kill someone they believe is bullying them? Is it possible for someone weaker to bully someone stronger? Have you ever witnessed bullying between a student and a teacher? If you did, how did it happen? Tell me about a time you have witnessed someone being bullied. Who did the bullying? If you're at home, you can pause it now if you want, and you can respond, or you can listen to us talk while we distract you. It's sort of up to you. And then don't stop, because we also have another article we're going to read in a moment. But back to you guys. The first part. Should a victim be punished if they paralyze or even kill someone they believe is bullying them? So, before, we're not talking yet. I'm going to show by show of hands to see your thoughts. Let's say they accidentally kill them by fighting back. So they're getting it, so the bully's been picking on them, and they fight back against the bully, and that causes the bully to die in some way. So, I mean, as in, they're doing it, and when the process of being bullied, the kid picks up an iPad and smacks the bully with it. But in the process of doing it, the glass shatters, ends up hitting the kid in the throat. It's like one of those rares, like, that was a 1 in 1,000 chance. But it's like, oh my God, blap, 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 and the guy goes down and dies. If that were to happen, how many of you say the victim should still not be punished because he is the victim? Raise your hand if you agree. Raise your hand if you disagree. Alright, so you're saying that the victim should be punished. Alright, how about this? We changed a little bit. Now it's, once again, at school, but here it's not from fighting back. Let's say you push the person who is attacking you, and when you push them, they stumble backwards, and their head hits the locker, and the little circle dial thing hits them right in the back of the head, chunkity, and it ends up causing brain damage. Not killing them, but causing permanent brain damage. And if you say the victim who causes the brain damage should be punished still, raise your hand. And if you say they should not be punished in that case. Alright, then one more question for you before we'll take some comments. Jumping to the outsiders. In that one, with what happened between Johnny and Bob, only taking it up to the point where we have them running to the church. Nothing that Johnny does after that, nothing that occurs after that. But just the story up to that point. How many of you say Johnny is guilty and Johnny should be punished in some way by the law? And how many of you say, nope, I don't believe Johnny should be punished. This was complete self-defense. All right. Now I'm curious to see your thoughts on this area. Kennedy.
Okay, I have a question. I couldn't totally vote on the scenario because was it physical violence that was being like on the victim?
I have a question to you. Should it matter?
Yes, because
why?
If their life was in immediate danger and they acted purely out of self-defense, and they shouldn't be punished. But if it was a reoccurring thing, like emotionally, and they acted out a spite, then I think they should be punished.
What if I were to, and I can show you the stats to back this up, overwhelmingly in bullying situations, physical bullying does not lead to suicide nearly as much as mental or online cyberbullying does. So the idea that you're saying that the physical bullying in this case would be the worst case and you can fight back, but what if it was the idea that I still feel threatened because it's going to cause me to commit suicide? Should it really matter whether it's physical or not?
But there are other ways in handling that than harming someone else.
Okay.
Because then that's stooping to their level.
True. All right. Sandy?
I think that the victim should be punished because the bullying does not cause them to be paralyzed or killed, and then fighting back and killing a person is just dumb and mean and cruel.
Okay. Hobbit?
Well, I think that the victim shouldn't be punished because it's just
Wait, did you see
self-defense.
shouldn't?
Or
Should not.
should not.
Okay. your contraction blended together, so I was making sure. Okay, should not be punched. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's just self-defense.
Okay.
I mean, so if someone's like bullying you, like say that they're pushing you, and then you just do the same exact thing, but they happen to, die. It's just self-defense. I mean, you can't really. If it was unintentional, then I would say that you're fine. But if the purpose was to actually kill them, then yeah, they should be punished.
All right, Jonathan.
I think they shouldn't be punished, just depending on the situation.
How so?
Let's just say they asked the bully to stop, or they got a teacher
Mhm.
all the time and had them, but the bully didn't stop afterwards, and then they didn't really try to fight back. They just wanted, well, I guess fight back. They just, as I said, they pushed them out. As you said, they pushed them out of the way, or just try to do something else. But they didn't want to actually kill them. If they killed them or paralyzed them, then it wouldn't be I don't think they should be punished if they just pushed them back, and then they tripped over, or they.
What about the hitting with the iPad?
I don't know. That depends on what the victim was thinking. Then.
Thinking
Because if they're thinking, I'm gonna kill this person, or I'm just gonna make it so I'm gonna go bam.
Typically, the response will be, "I was not thinking. I was just reacting." So in that case, doesn't matter. Their answer is, "I was not thinking. He pushed me. I picked up iPad. Smacky, smacky, bleedy, bleedy, daddy, daddy." So jumping to my next one then. Is it possible for someone weaker to bully someone stronger? Can that happen? Grant? Grady?
Okay, so it could be somebody that's more popular, that has a lot more friends, and it kind of just pushes on, the stronger person, and they kind of just emotionally break down.
Now, are you saying the popular person is the weaker person?
Yes,
So, but in the world of popularity, aren't they the stronger person?
true, but I thought we were talking about physical.
Does it have to be?
I guess not.
Okay. And just making sure we examine all different parts of it. So, are they not, because you're saying they're going to not fight back in the same way?
I don't know.
I wasn't trying to stump you, I was just trying to expand the thinking bits. I know thinking is painful. We'll come back to you in a moment then?
Yeah.
Alright. Ayana?
So, weaker people can't bully stronger people. So like, say it's online,
Mhm.
the weaker person can have a fake account and be bullying the stronger person, because they either bullied them in the past or they just don't like the person, and they can get away with it because they don't know who the person is and end up taking the person out.
Interesting. Alright. Matthew?
Okay, so on this, it is very possible because first of all, it doesn't have to be physical bullying. If someone's stronger, I've had friends that even, I'm obviously not the strongest. I don't even qualify as a human being. But I've had friends in the past who, way bigger than me, and they've been bullied a ton, even though I've seen people who bullied them. It's like,
They're as tall as you, that's for sure.
yeah, I don't know how that happens, but it happens. It's just, it typically isn't physical bullying, and at that point, it's kind of like a thing where you just kind of look at them, you're like,
Let me ask this question then, since you guys are talking about the physical part. Would it be possible for a 12-year-old 7th grader to bully a 16-year-old 10th grader who is 60 pounds heavier and 6 inches taller? Would that still be a possible thing, or is that only going to happen via social media? Now I say that could they physically do it from there?
Yes.
Jake?
I would say yes, because it doesn't matter if you're strong, if even though the person who's taller than you is stronger than you, there is a chance you can still take them on. The person who's smaller could still potentially take them on and beat them.
Alright. Jelian?
it kind of depends on the attitude of the person,
Mhm.
because if the younger person was a really aggressive person and didn't mind hurting people, and the older person really didn't ever want to hurt anybody no matter what, they probably wouldn't defend themselves.
Can I shift that down to say a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old? Does that change things? If it's the idea of a 12, I'm still using a 4-year age difference, but would it be possible for an 8-year-old who is smaller to be able to bully a 12-year-old? Sandy?
I think it would be possible because if they're brothers or sisters, they could fight a lot, bully each other.
Not siblings. Let's say people who don't know, they're not related.
I think it could because like 8-year-olds might not have the knowledge to know that they're bullying the 12-year-old, and the 12-year-old might not care because that person's probably younger than you, doesn't know what he's doing.
Akil?
I feel like it depends on the sensitivity of the big person's feelings, because like if they're really sensitive in their feelings, then the small person can still like get inside their head and make them sad.
Alright. So there is a way where, because I don't want to put words into your mouth. How many of you say if I show you a fight between an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, where the 12-year-old is definitely bigger and taller and stronger than the 8-year-old, is there any way that you can find it in yourself to still side on the 12-year-old side?
Yep.
Raise your hand if you say, yep, I still think I can find a way to be on the 12-year-old side in that particular case. Raise your hand if you say, nope, there's no way the 12-year-old could possibly be on the other side. And then same thing with 12 and 16-year-old. If I just show you the same thing between a 12 and a 16-year-old. And you guys say, yep, I think I could be on the 16-year-old side. Even if he hurt the 12-year-old and put him into the hospital, I still think it could be okay on the 16-year-old side. And you guys say, nope, disagree. All right. Let's take a look at a video.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Ooh, is it a fight video?
I don't think it's
physically bullied.
First of all, Fight Club. Now we're talking about Fight Club.
Oh, I've seen this.
It's my sister.
What it is,
Oh no, not this one.
it's a video between a fight that was taken. It is a 12-year-old 7th grader and a 16-year-old 10th grader. They're at the same school because it's a smaller school where they do 7th grade through 12th grade all in the same building. And this is a fight between a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. The 12-year-old is the one that's going to be on the left, and then the 16-year-old is the one that's going to be on the right.
Is he in the red?
Not this one.
Well, at least we're getting sad, bro. Okay, keep recording. Let me know who's in the background.
And then he's gonna break his legs. He's gonna break his legs. Oh, Jesus! Oh, can he stand?
I want to see how much blood there is.
The video
Yeah, I saw that.
Is there another one?
was taken by a friend of the 12-year-old because they were planning on posting it online to harass the bigger kid. So they had videotaped it ahead of time in order to continue the bullying that they were doing of the larger kid. And then the larger kid ended up fighting back, and that's what you see there. I went and found an article where they interviewed the two of them. So we're going to take a look at that. Get out your iPad. Take a look at it.
I saw that video. I haven't seen it.
I've seen it before.
So the guy that was being bullied, obviously did not fight back. Like, he obviously taking over.
Did fight back?
Yeah.
Now, in that one, the kid that is thrown to the ground was uninjured. You saw him stumble for a moment, but he came away with just a bruise, and that was it, which we'll talk about more in a moment. And also the way that the boy reacted, we're going to talk about too. Terhune.
Okay, before this event occurred, what were the 12-year-olds bullying the older one? Or was it the other way around?
Nope.
No?
12-year-old been bullying the bigger one. Matthew?
So, going back to that situation with the younger, older, like the weaker and stronger. Kind of like in The Outsiders, where John's just like, he has a knife and he goes stabby, stabby, stabby.
And he's the weaker one?
What if you had an item to hurt the other person with, like, for instance, a switchblade knife?
And that's a good question.
Assault rifle.
Because you look there, because if the bigger kid had had a weapon, would he have used it?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
And the thing where you can go to countries and say this is, you know, with the whole thing that's going on in America and North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would have to say that the U.S. is
The bigger?
the bigger one, but it's like the ching chong, ching.
Hey, bring down the racist attack, but yes.
Thank you.
Casey Haynes, teen who attacked bully in YouTube video, says he just snapped. An Australian teen dubbed The Punisher, who became a YouTube star after viciously lashing out at a bully, said he snapped after years of being picked on. The moment 10th grader Casey Haynes explodes on a pint-sized kid who punched him several times is as frightening as it is impressive. I actually snapped, grabbed him, and picked him up off the ground and threw him to the ground in self-defense, the 16-year-old told the Current Affair in an interview. I wasn't really thinking. I was just like, yay, finally it's over. I was scared. And once again, this is a 16-year-old talking about being scared of a 12-year-old. The 40-second video captured the incident last week at Chifley College in Australia. That's what they call secondary school. They don't call it high school. It's called college there. It was posted to YouTube and instantly scored thousands of views. The spinally-legged 7th grader, identified as Richard Gale, does his best Rocky Balboa dance as he pops Haynes in the face with a right cross. The boy attempts to hit him a few more times, but his much bigger victim slaps his fists away. Then, with sudden fury and speed, Haynes is seen grabbing Gale, lifting him, then body slamming him to the cement. The young bully is then seen standing up and limping away. He suffered only a scratch on his knee. Haynes said he never fought back before and wasn't planning to this time, but the anger just built up. Haynes said Gale and his friends began teasing him 2 weeks prior to the fight, but said he'd been bullied for years. He once had friends, but they all ditched him because of the teasing. The bullies called me fatty. They would slap me on the back of the head, trip me, throw water bombs at me practically every day. They once even duct taped him to a pole. Now, to pause for a moment, because we don't have time to read the second one I have for you, which goes even more in depth than an interview, the bullying Casey's referring to is not from Richard. That kid doing it here did not do all those other things. Case even picked on for a number of years. Richard had just been picking on him for like the last week or two after years of having gone through this. So all the bullying he's recounting is not from this particular bully. And we find out from Richard was being bullied. Not from Casey, but from other kids at school. Richard, the smaller one, got tired of being bullied, thought the best way to stop that was by getting in a fight with the bigger kid, posting a video online, and he thought that would stop other kids from picking on him. That was why the smaller kid picked the fight with Casey, because he didn't want to get picked on himself anymore. Haynes said he was lonely, and after his friends abandoned him, he was an easy target. The teen also admitted he considered suicide. I just started to put myself down, and then all the crap just kept piling on. And I didn't realize how much trouble he was actually in until I saw that video, his father said. And then he said, well, it goes on every day, Dad. Haynes and Gale both have been suspended because of their school's zero-tolerance policy regarding fighting. The teen does not regret lashing out at the bully, even though he admits he could have seriously hurt the younger boy. I just wanted it to stop. While many are praising Haynes, his father fears the fight video will only invite more bullies to target his son. There'll be reprisals from other kids in the school, and he still has to go to school somewhere. He's not a violent kid. It's the first time he's lashed out, and I don't want him to be victimized over that. I'm going to go back to the video and show you part of what happens. Because Casey says he was not thinking. He just picked him up, threw him down, wanted it to be over with. So he picks him up, throws him down. In this case, from what you guys saw, how many of you say Casey, the bigger kid, should be punished for hurting a smaller child? Raise your hand if you say, I agree, he should be punished. And if you guys say, I disagree, he is completely innocent and should not be punished. Okay? Now, when he throws him down, where are we? Right there. That thing behind him, what is that?
A log.
That is the little wall ledge, a cement ledge, and what smacks down onto it?
A leg.
Oh!
His leg
How do you
comes
get a
down onto it. Was Casey thinking
No.
when he was doing this?
No.
No. It is by pure chance. It is Richard's leg that hits it. It could have very easily have been his head. If he had turned his body the other way, his head would have hit it instead of the leg. If he had thrown Richard down and his head had hit that ledge instead, causing brain damage, how many of you would then say Casey should be punished? If he did something that causing the boy to go to the hospital and or die, how many of you say Casey should be punished? And then how many of you say, in that case, I still think Casey should be free and clear?
Well, it wasn't his fault that the other kid decided to turn around. That was his dime.
That's part where my question comes in.
What if he picks him up?
Because I have one more for you.
Oh, I
Oh,
know.
I know.
Yeah, another one? Yes! Oh, it's fatal this time.
This one, this is the bully
I knew it.
who starts the fight.
Right? The dead.
You're so edgy. Edgy.
Oh,
What?
This is the kid he is picking on. The bully is smaller. The kid he's picking on is younger, but was taller and bigger than he was.
That 16-year-old Gregory Tier had used what was described as reasonable force to defend himself under Iowa law. Wearing a black hoodie, Esker can be seen repeatedly shoving a larger Tier before the teen responds in kind. Both boys are seen raising their arms when Tier delivers a powerful blow that knocks Esker to the ground and leaves him lying unconscious.
That's the whole fight. That's all there was to it. The bully died. When he got hit and the kid responded, he punched him. You've seen when kids get concussions? He blacked out for a second and he could not control his fall. When he hit the ground, his head smacks off the
Tier
ground.
delivers a powerful blow that knocks Esker to the
That's what killed him. His head hitting that ground put him into a coma, and he ends up dying 3 days later from it.
Jeez.
It's that idea of not doing it intentionally, that what you saw with the Casey Haynes fight was one bad move away from it going in a really bad direction, which takes us back to The Outsiders, with what happened there and the fight we see occurring along those same lines, and that idea of fighting back and whether or not who's going to be responsible, which is going to lead into some of our talks moving forward. Tomorrow, on a more uplifting note, we're going to talk more about bullying. The book and connections to it from there. But yeah, I found that first video with Casey, and I started going down the old rabbit hole of discovery, and I found a nonfiction article that went along with it, and I was like, well, that sort of connects to everything we're doing. And then as I was doing that, I ended up doing a bit more research, and then I wanted to see, could I find one where the bully gets killed because of an accident along those same lines? And the frightening thing is, it did not take me very long to find this. It was not hours spent, it was minutes spent before I was able to then find the very next case where a kid died. Now, in this one, I was going to say, should the kid who did the killing, should he be punished or should he go free?
It says he would be.
No, I want to say he should be.
Take off! That's all I have for